Hello everybody, I'm Nate and welcome to my channel. Today I have the privilege of reviewing the second release yo-yo from now. It used to be Guy with a Yo-Yo, now they're going by G-Way. So it's still the acronym, but I think we're pronouncing it G-Way. On their Instagram it was G-hyphen-whatever. Way. So I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. So G-Way, this is actually their second yo-yo. Like I said, their first yo-yo was the Saboteur, which I loved that yo-yo, and I have that here. I'll talk about it a little bit, but this is the Daredevil. All right, so we're gonna be talking about the Daredevil today. All right, let's get into it. Right, like I said, this is their second yo-yo. It's been a really fun little journey, kind of watching Guy with a Yo-Yo. He's also a fellow YouTuber, and I'll have a link to his videos as well. And it's kind of cool whenever you see somebody who is obviously passionate about yo-yos and goes off and just kind of decides to make their own thing. And actually start making things. And now they have a little bit of a team. They have a couple members as well. And so that's pretty cool. And to see where they're gonna go with that in this next year or so is exciting. It's always exciting too to see a company come out with not just their first yo-yo, but then like what follows after that, right? Because if their first yo-yo was good, which actually the Saboteur seemed to be received very well. I really liked this yo-yo. Very kind of a nostalgic sort of feel to it. It has that high wall, that smooth, organic, a lot of things that I really like about it. But, you know, sometimes like whenever you have just a home run, you know, on the first one, it's hard to follow up with that. And so, but here we are. This is the Daredevil. A couple things I'll talk about first. It is still organic, very much like the Saboteur was. Let me go ahead and get the string out of the gap here completely so you can see it a little bit better. But it is sort of organic, a little bit more of an H shape, okay? So you see that there. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more nimble, so to speak, in the frame and all that. It's a little bit wide, not as wide as the Saboteur, and it's not quite as large in diameter either. So it's a little overall, just a little bit smaller package and frame than the Saboteur. So a nice little like complement to that, right? So if you like this company and you picked up the Saboteur and you're wanting something a little bit different, right away the specs are different. Additionally, this is 7068, okay? And the big difference between this one and what seems to be a great trend right now, and I'm all for it, is a D-bearing. And so it's a D-bearing, which again, if you're not familiar with the D-bearing, basically it is a smaller diameter bearing. And so for smaller yo-yos like this one, now I would still put this in the, you know, mid-size category roughly to even full size. It's kind of deceptive how small it really is or how large it is. It's kind of weird in the hand. I'll get to that maybe when we actually play it. But I like D-bearings for smaller diameter yo-yos. I feel like it gives you a little bit more of that pick up and go. I'm certain there is some actual science behind that, okay? Aesthetically, I really like the look of this yo-yo. It is blasted on the outside, okay? But you can see it's a little glossier on the inside, and it's not blasted at all. And so I like that a lot. It gives it a nice contrast, and I've noticed, at least on the colors that have been released so far on their Instagram, that's how they're doing all of the yo-yos in their line. Again, 100%, I'm not sure. But so far from what I've seen, it's there. We also have a little, just a simple engraving here of the Daredevil there. So nothing super over flashy, what have you, but just nice and clean. And a nice, crisp, really detailed engraving. The hub design, I actually like it a little bit better. You know, one of the issues, not an issue, but one of the things I think I remember commenting, and if I didn't, I'm commenting on it now, with the Saboteur, was that spike was useful, but not as useful as it could have been. It's not as large as I believe it should have been. So because I feel like if you have a spike on a yo-yo, you should be able to use it for like matadoring and things like that. And it just wasn't quite long enough, sharp enough either. It's actually sharp enough, but wasn't quite long enough to grasp every time. I could with some effort. The spike on this one is perfect, right? It's not huge, so it's just like the centerpiece of the yo-yo when you look at it. It's not like, oh, that's a giant spike, like something like Spy or something like that, like their yo-yos, which were great. But it's just tall enough that I can still matador with that, and I should be able to pick that up and do finger spins even with it and what have you. Now landing that on a finger spin on a pop-up might be a little bit of a challenge. It also has a really nice IRG. It also has kind of a mid, like, I don't know if you would call that a stability ring, but it has kind of a mid ring around there as well. So overall, it seems very intentional with the design, clean, sort of organic look, organic H-shaped look. D-bearing, like I said, concaved. Overall, I really like the design of this yo-yo. Nice, like, more nimble sort of feel than the Saboteur, but enough so that I feel like it still kind of fits the brand, like, as they're probably still developing that brand. But I could see where there was an inspiration, especially on the hub design. They're different enough, right? Let's take a look at those side by side. Like at first when I saw the Daredevil here, I was like, oh, that's almost exactly like the Saboteur. But then as I looked at them side by side, they're not quite. But I can see the inspiration. But I like this one a lot. So let's go and actually play it and see how it plays on the string. All right, welcome back to the on the string section with the Daredevil. Yeah, D-bearing yo-yos. I really like D-bearing yo-yos, and that's maybe just kind of a bias at this point, but everything I've played with the D-bearing is just really fun. It's really, really solid. This Daredevil is no exception to that. Really been liking this yo-yo a lot. Like I said, I feel like my preference with D-bearings is oftentimes with a smaller framed yo-yo, smaller diameter maybe, or smaller width. This has a little bit of both of that, especially compared to the Saboteur. But yeah, that D-bearing fits really well with this. Gives it a little bit more pick up and go. I feel like obviously I don't have the compare, but if you put a C-size bearing in this, I feel like it would be a little bit sluggish. You wouldn't probably have as longer spin times. You wouldn't have maybe quite the stability that you have with that D-bearing. So overall, I think it's a smart choice, not just a trendy choice, okay? All right, so on a grind, it works really nice, right? That blast is really nice. Nothing overly aggressive, and that shape works really well. That sort of a little bit H shape works really well as far as grinds are concerned. Okay, so matadoring is no problem. So you can kind of do your DNA kind of thing. I had a student ask me today if I could do the DNA, and I'm like, oh my gosh, sure. So yeah, this was a 7th grader. So I was like, okay, sure, why not? Yeah, anyways, it's funny how that's the new walk the dog. IRG is gonna be easy. I actually can hit it in 2 different places. That time I kind of hit it in the inner ring there, or you can hit it on the outside. So it's kind of almost got 2 IRGs, like on that inner ring there. It's easy to pop that up there too, or on the outside. So that's kind of fun. Overall, I really do like the feel of the yo-yo on the string. It doesn't really have float to it, but it's got a nice nimble feel to it, and it has a substantial spin time for a smaller-ish diameter yo-yo. So really, just again, has a fair amount of power, and I think a lot of that has to do with the D-bearing option. Been working on this trick here, and I don't have an ending to it, but I like this, like, get out of this. Oh, I missed it. It's hard to talk and do it at the same time. But it's like, get into a trapeze, you're opening up here, out and around, and then you throw in that slack, which I totally missed. There you go. And then you can exit back out of it. And something like that. If it'll pull off horizontal, maybe, you know, as you want. Actually does pretty well. But it's not, I don't think, the best candidate for something that's going to be like competition friendly or what have you. But it's just really fun. I feel like with the Saboteur, they kind of like started off with a company that obviously isn't trying to give you that next competition yo-yo. I'm not saying you can compete with any yo-yo, okay? And you should be able to compete with any yo-yo. But the Saboteur was more of a everyday kind of nostalgic sort of design, and I feel a little bit of that's too. Maybe a little more performance, especially in the gap design than because it doesn't have a high wall or anything like that. But a little bit more performance than the Saboteur possibly. But overall, I still kind of get that like everyday kind of carry, sort of laid back sort of vibe with it. All right, overall, I really like this yo-yo. I'm really liking what now G-Way, is doing with their designs, and really just kind of straightforward, clean, but just well-played yo-yos. It seems like everything's very deliberate, and so I'm excited to see what's next from them. Definitely check out them. If you've not checked out the Saboteur, I believe there's probably some available still, but you definitely should check out the Daredevil. It's a great little yo-yo. Be releasing very soon here. I have all the details in the description here about specs, of course, as well as where to possibly get this when it is released. All right, that's gonna do it for now, and until the next one, later.